Welcome back, guys, to the Futbal Biz podcast. As always, I'm Graysen Mortimer. Today, I'm joined by new co-host. Hunter's still here.
Evan.
Don't worry, he's just away for today. But new co-host Evan McGuire. Evan, welcome to your first official Futbal Biz episode, where you are a co-host. You've obviously been here in the past, but yeah, we decided to add him permanently.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I mean, I guess you could say I'm just too good not to have on the cast. So I'm
Okay,
here now,
buddy.
everybody.
Okay, buddy. All right. Don't get too carried away here. Yeah, we have a
Okay.
decent amount to talk about today. Not as many transfers as last week, so probably not going to be as long of an episode, but we do have some important stuff to cover today. So we're going to get right into it. We do have some transfer news, of course. The biggest one, I would say, we're going to start right off with it, is the fact that David De Gea is officially confirmed to leave Manchester United at the end of the season, or I should say now, in this case,
Yeah.
since it is officially July. But this is a bit bittersweet in some ways, even as both of us being rival fans of Man U. This is Sir
Yeah.
Alex Ferguson's final departure. This is
Mhm.
the last guy that he signed that is leaving the club. Phil Jones obviously left earlier in the transfer window, but it's a bit surreal. David De Gea, overall, I would say he's a success story of Man U. I mean, you don't spend 12 years at a team and start basically every game if you're complete rubbish. Obviously, he had his fair share of howlers, but he also had his fair share of class moments. And whatever team he goes to, I think will be in good hands. Literally, maybe not the best feet, but good hands. And I do think that it was time for them to move on from him. Hunter and I did talk about that in a previous episode. But overall, good Man U career for David De Gea, and I'm sure that they'll give him a good farewell.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. It's a shame that he has to go now, and he didn't really get a proper farewell from the fans. That's the only thing I can say about that with his departure. Yeah, no, overall he was a great. He'll go down as one of the one of the best keepers to ever play for that club. So as much as I can say as a Liverpool fan, he did his best, in that defense, making sure that they, made sure that they could, get clean sheets and get some wins. Even though, let's say, some defenders who I won't name, who also share a last name with me, kind of stopped that from happening. So yeah,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, De Gea was in front of some absolutely shocking defense, or behind some absolutely shocking defenses, and the fact is that without him, I mean, there would have been some years where Man U were worse than they were in those years. Especially right after Ferguson left. I mean, De Gea had to stand on his head in some games of the season, especially just after the Mourinho era as well. There were some games there where he absolutely just had to stand on his head. But yeah, I mean, we'll see where he ends up. But the guy rumored to be replacing him is Inter Milan goalkeeper and former Ajax goalkeeper Andre Onana. Will become one of the most expensive goalkeepers of all time. We're hearing in the range of 50 to 60 million euros. It's basically been confirmed that he will be going. He's agreed personal terms. It's just a matter of getting all of the paperwork done. Once that's done, Onana will become Man U number one. And I think that this is the perfect buy for Man United. I mean, he is not only a great shot stopper, but he also is great with the ball at his feet, which is what I can't say about De Gea. De Gea was known for not being the best passer of the ball. He's not known for his distribution. Onana, on top of being a good goalkeeper, is absolutely phenomenal with his feet. Outside of Ederson, I'd say he's one of the best in the world with the ball at his feet. So a great signing for Man U, in my opinion. I think he's the perfect replacement for De Gea.
oh yes, sky's the limit when it comes to Onana. I haven't been able to have the opportunity to watch a lot of them, but like anytime I've watched him in the Champions League, he's stood out for sure. He has made a couple of great saves, I'd say, against AC Milan, and I watched him a little bit against Sevilla. He was a bit inconsistent there, but if you can tweak up a little bit, he'd definitely be a solid signing for United, and especially possibly even team now with David De Gea's departure.
Yeah, for sure. And Inter, of course, are already lining up a replacement for Onana. Which honestly, if Onana when Onana does leave, if Jan Sommer does go to Inter Milan for only 6 million euros, that's an absolute steal. Jan Sommer's a class keeper. He really is. He's been underrated his whole career. I mean, he really his one moment where he stood out was the Euros when he absolutely just stuffed France in penalties. I mean, that was awesome. But yeah, Jan Sommer for 6 million euros to replace the outgoing Onana. Obviously, Sommer's a little older now, but he's still good. He played for Bayern Munich last year, filling in for Neuer. He did that job
Yeah.
perfectly. And yeah, I think Sommer's a great buy for Inter Milan.
Oh, yeah, just one quick thing. I meant to say Benfica instead of Sevilla. I don't know why I got those mixed up when it
All
came
good.
to talking about the Champions League. But yeah, no, for Jan Sommer, being able to go there, I'd say that is a massive bargain. He played phenomenally well for Bayern Munich filling in, being able to win the Bundesliga again and everything, even though they had a bit of a down season. That's still a very impressive thing that you can add to your resume, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I think Inter Milan will be able to make a run hopefully again next year. So moving on from those goalkeepers to a few other random transfers that have happened. And this one really kind of caught me off guard is the fact that Tottenham have officially signed Manor Solomon from Fulham. And I mean, it's a weird one for me. I rate him as a player. He's got some ability, but I did not see him leaving Fulham this soon. He kind of just rose into prominence a little bit last season, showed his really good moments of ability, but I didn't think he did enough to move to Tottenham.
Well, whatever Tottenham wants, I guess. It's I guess now he's there now. So I guess I don't even want to say sky's the limit when it comes to him because it's Tottenham. Tottenham will just find a way just to ruin his potential, really, I'd say. I mean, they've already
Yeah,
done that with other players as well. Like Richarlison's had a bit of a stinker of a season. Who's the other one? Yves Bissouma, he didn't really stand out. Uh
oh,
Perisic as well. And then also coming in now with the new manager from Celtic. I don't know what the plan is there right now.
yeah. I'm not entirely sure. He was bought from Shakhtar Donetsk. That's where he was before Fulham. But yeah, it feels weird. I mean, it's a good player again, but I don't know where he's gonna play because he's mostly a left wing, and they have Sonny for that. So maybe their plan is if Harry Kane leaves, they play either Richarlison or Sonny a little more central, and then Solomon at the left. I don't know how this is going to work out, but decent buy for Tottenham, I guess. I'll give it like a 5 since I don't really know how it's going to pan out. He is only 23, almost 24, but yeah, very odd transfer in my opinion. Not really
Yeah.
sure how to feel about it. I really
I,
don't
I
know.
yeah, I see it as a possible panic buy in my opinion in case Kane does supposedly go off to Bayern or like any other club.
Yeah, that could be it. So from him though to one that I believe does make sense. Real Madrid have signed Turkish youngster Arda Güler. I mean, I've seen some highlights of this guy. He's pretty good. He's an absolute stud. So Madrid is really, I mean, they've done the right thing. They are just youthtening up their midfield for when the likes of Kroos and Modric do leave. I mean, the sky is the limit for him. We can definitely say that as a fact for this guy. And you know, he impressed last year in the Turkish league. I think it's a good buy in my opinion. I'm gonna give it like an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, you know more on me. I'm not really too familiar with the player, but like considering your knowledge on Real Madrid, you'd be able to tell me more about this.
Yeah, I mean he's an 18-year-old kid. He impressed with Fenerbahce last season. He was confirmed to want to leave them towards the end of the year, and he filled in perfectly for Mesut Ozil after Ozil left the club, and then he just kind of jumped up through the ranks and became, just like a really prominent type of player. He's more of a number 10, which I don't really know how he's going to fit in Madrid this year anyway, but I think eventually he's going to be one to really look out for. Kind of takes some time maybe to build up his repertoire a little bit, kind of similar to how Vinicius did, but 18 years old, I mean, for for 20 million euros, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. I mean, it's a very low risk, high reward type of buy for Real.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. So we'll jump ahead a little bit, and one that I would say you definitely will know a little bit about, since you are wearing the USA hat right now. That is the fact that Brendan Aronson has officially moved to Union Berlin on loan. He avoids playing in the championship, goes to a pretty decent German side. So I expect a lot out of him in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, I agree too. Top four last year, they definitely, moving on up. They're going to be playing Champions League football now too. Like this makes perfect sense to me. Going from championship to the Champions League, can't complain about that. I'd take that any day, especially with a high potential player like him. He was really the only, I'd say, positive thing coming out of Leeds United this past season. So being able to get a decent, solid move like that, that definitely helps your career.
He was definitely a bright spot, and I hope that Tyler Adams is able to get a move as well. I think he was also a good spot for Leeds. Rodrigo being another one for Leeds. He did score 12 or 13 goals last season in the Prem, which for how bad Leeds were, that's actually a quite impressive tally. But yeah, Aronson is high energy type of player. He really knows how to keep players on their heels and make sure that they're honest all the time. He could have probably scored a bit more last year. I think his goals and assist tally will be what brings him down maybe a little bit. But I think if he's able to find that part of his game where he kind of did in the MLS and with the Philadelphia Union, I think he'll be set. I mean, he did well at Salzburg as well. So I think if he's able to put everything together, he'll be an absolutely phenomenal loan deal for Union Berlin. I don't believe there's a buy option, but I'd have to double check that one. But overall, I'd say this is a great move for Aronson to help further his career.
Yeah, I agree too. Being able to play Champions League football will be a great experience for him. I don't think he's played Champions League football before anyway, so being able to have that, you know, having that kind of experience, that'll definitely help him going forward.
He might have for Salzburg, but I will double check that as we speak. But yeah, he is a good player. He's only 22 years old, so he's still got a lot of youth in his game, and as the U.S. as a whole does, to be honest. I mean, there's a lot of young players there.
A lot of them are
Yeah,
getting moves.
they are. A lot of them are getting moves, and it's really exciting to see. His brother quite recently did move to Eintracht Frankfurt, which is a massive buy. But yeah, it doesn't look like he has played Champions League football before, so I think this will be a good move for him. And in that regard, he gets to play at the highest competition. I don't expect Union Berlin to go very far in the competition, to be honest, but I do think that Aronson will be a decent buy for them. Looks like you froze out there for a second, but yeah,
Yeah, it
I
froze a little bit.
all good in that regard. But yeah, anyways, I don't think we really have to talk too much more about that one. And we have two more things to talk about for transfers. The first one is the fact that Mauro Icardi has officially gone to Galatasaray, uh, and I think this transfer makes complete sense. He was kind of on the outs at his last club, which I'm actually trying to remember who that was, but he is a good player. He was really good when he was at Inter Milan. Oh, he was at PSG. That's right.
Yeah, I
I
was gonna
just
say
remember.
PSG.
I
Yeah,
just remembered that. I'm like, why am I drawing a blank here? But yeah, he was at PSG for a bit, and it just didn't really work out for him there. He was kind of behind the pecking order a little bit with the
wasn't
likes
getting
of
enough playing time now.
yeah. When the likes of Cavani were even still there, but then also Mbappe kind of just went in and took over that striker spot perfectly. Icardi was an absolute stud when he was at Inter Milan, and he scored 22 goals in 24 appearances for Galatasaray this past season. So he kind of ate the Turkish league up for breakfast, and I think he's going to continue to do that. Now, obviously, he's a bit of a controversial player in his personal life, but on the field, I mean, he's absolute class. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it just made perfect sense just to buy him. Why like ruin it? Keep it rolling.
Exactly, and he'll be able to replace I don't even know who their last striker was, but he'll be able to fill in for that spot perfectly. He was their main starting striker last year, but yeah, I do think that Icardi is a good buy for Galatasaray, especially at only 10 million euros. The fact that PSG accepted that, usually they're a big rich club and they're like, we want everybody. They only recouped 10 euros for him, and I think that's an absolutely cheap buy.
Yeah, and he's only 30 years old anyway. He still has a lot more left in the tank anyway.
Yeah. So from him to our final, this is a current. Nothing's happened yet. Nothing is concrete.
Yeah.
But Bayern Munich have submitted a bid for Harry Kane. Their first one was rejected. They have improved their bid from 70 million to 80 million. I expect this one to get rejected again, but I think if they up it to about 90, I mean, there's no way Tottenham doesn't accept that. I think that they should finally just let him leave, and Bayern Munich is somebody who I've talked about in the past. That would be a good destination for him. Obviously, Hunter wants him there. There's no doubt about that
Yeah.
one. He wants Harry Kane. I think Bayern Munich is the perfect location for him. The fact that he scored 30 goals in a rubbish Tottenham team and was and is just his range of passing too is something that I think is completely underrated. As to where even the likes of Mbappe are, yes, they're quick, fast, and good, but they don't have the same type of hold up play and passing that Harry Kane does.
No, they don't.
We've obviously seen Holland try to add that to his game a bit. I think eventually he will figure that out. But the fact is Kane is the perfect buy for Bayern Munich. They have quick, fast wingers, and he'll be the perfect striker to link up with them, kind of in a similar sense to what Lewandowski did for many years in that team. So I think Harry Kane should absolutely go to Bayern Munich, but we'll see if Tottenham accepts the transfer bid.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Being able to replace Lewandowski, that has been a tough task for Bayern trying to do. I mean, they tried to do it with Mane, and it didn't really work out exactly too well, having, on field and also off field problems. So now being able to bring in Harry Kane, multiple time Golden Boot winner, it's no brainer. And also for him, for his own sake, it gives him a plausible trophy to finally win.
Yeah, yeah, that's been the main issue of his career. Is he's been one of the best players to ever grace the Premier League, but he hasn't won anything. He has not won anything in that team. Some people are like, "Oh, he won the Audi Cup. He did." Yes, okay.
Yeah,
What's the Audi Cup? It's a completely irrelevant tournament. He hasn't won the Carabao Cup. He hasn't won the FA Cup. Tottenham haven't even come close to the Premier League. The closest they did was when Leicester won. But Wes Morgan has more titles than Harry Kane does. And he hasn't won. He got to the Champions League final, but in arguably the most boring final I've ever seen, lost 2-0. Like his career has been a failure. It's been an absolute failure. Yes, he lost to Liverpool. He just
hmm
needs to go somewhere else to prove that one. Not only, I mean, him doing it in a different league would be cool, but he just needs to lift the trophy. Just kiss a piece of silverware. Like he hasn't done that at all. Even Declan Rice has more champions like trophies than he does. So yeah, I feel for the guy, and he really needs to leave if he wants to win something in his career. He's 29 now. He's not exactly what you can call a spring chicken.
no,
He's got
yeah,
to make a move. He has to make a move.
yeah, no, you're right. He does. He's come up close. He's came close way too many times. Uh, Pretty much, yeah. 2016, like you said, finished third in a two-horse race, and then the next year they just barely lost out to Chelsea, and then obviously losing to us as well in the final, and then having Mourinho sacked pretty much just a few days before a Carabao Cup final, which your Man City won that eventually. So it makes perfect sense because Bayern have won what is it now 11 Bundesligas in a row. And even like this year, it's with a weak team. They had no really actual proper striker. So if you add him in there, it's a no-brainer. They're gonna win it again.
Yeah, their big striker was Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting, a former Stoke City reject. Like the fact that guy's currently Bayern Munich starting striker, and to be fair, he's done well, but the fact that guy's their striker, I mean, just imagine that team with Kane. I would put them as one of my favorites to win the UCL next year. Obviously, I would still say Man
Yeah.
City's going to be the favorite again. I mean, that team's ridiculous, but I I think that Bayern Munich would absolutely be just completely rejuvenated with Kane. They won it with Lewandowski, and I would say the two are pretty comparable for their levels of ability when it comes to one their goal scoring ability, but also just how they play.
Yeah, exactly. He'd win the Golden Boot in the Bundesliga by a mile, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, considering the Bundesliga's top scorer was, I want to say 15 or 16 goals last year, which isn't that high of a tally considering Erling Haaland had scored 36 in the Premier League. I mean, or Lewandowski scored over 20 in La Liga and Serie A. I mean, it was also men. So there's guys out there that are just doing stuff. The Bundesliga hasn't seen that type of goal scorer since Lewandowski did leave. So
Mm.
we'll see what happens with the Kane saga, but I really hope that he just leaves Tottenham, whether it's Bayern, Madrid, or someone else, even Man United. Just he needs to leave Tottenham. I think he's more likely to win something at Man U than Tottenham. So
Yeah,
it's just he needs to
agreed.
leave. He needs to
Agreed.
leave.
Well, yeah. Well. The current second bid we'll have to keep an eye on. It's currently at 70 million plus add-ons anyway.
Yeah, I think the improved bid was 80 mil plus add-ons. So
I
we'll
think it
see
was
if
euros though. Yeah.
Euros, yes. I we'll see what happens in that regard. I know the number that Tottenham have loved to throw out is about 100, but as I've said in the past,
Fair.
if there
Yeah.
is one English player that is worth that, it is him.
It is
I mean,
again. Yeah.
he's legitimately a world talent. He just is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that'll do it for our transfer business. There is one big game that did happen over the past weekend, which is the Euro U21 final. England beat Spain 1-0. Curtis Jones scored a very weird winner. Gibbs White and Antonio Blanco were each sent off towards the end, and a late penalty save was the deciding factor that kept it a clean sheet for England. And, well, their senior team can't seem to do anything right, but their youth teams can.
Yeah. No. I was able to watch pretty much most of the second half, and from what I've seen, England's defense was on point. Anytime like they got the ball back, they were able to counter it very well. They were actually very unlucky once or twice not to score a second one. But no, that James Trafford penalty, fantastic. As much as I hate to see it happen, it was a world class save, came in clutch, which then led to obviously the outrage at the very end.
Yeah, yeah, it did. It the funny thing about it is it wasn't a penalty shootout, which is fair, but England actually won a game on a penalty save. I get it's not the senior team either, but they won a game on a penalty save,
They did.
which is quite shocking. Will it change their fortunes for the senior team? Absolutely not. But they can celebrate it with smiles, and I mean they're 21, but they are in Europe, so they'll be fine.
Yeah, correct. No, I mean it might be able to eventually change the outcome of the senior team because there's a lot of upcoming players like from one, my Curtis Jones, and then obviously your Carson Palmer.
Cole
Or
Palmer.
Palmer. Yeah, yeah, Paul Palmer.
Carson
Yeah.
Palmer's a former NFL
I
quarterback.
messed it up. I thought his name began with a C. Yeah, whoops.
Cole Palmer.
Paul Palmer. I got the names mixed up. My bad.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of youth talent in there and guys that I think can make a difference. Cole Palmer was one of the best players in the tournament. He's played a lot for Man City. He's already won a treble in his young career, and yeah, I've seen the guy play. I mean, he's a solid player. He is really good. Curtis Jones is also a good talent, though. I mean, if he plays like he did at the end of the season last year, scoring lots of goals, I mean, hey, Liverpool have something to look forward to if one of their big signings of the summer just goes down. So I think Jones is definitely on the up. Cole Palmer's definitely on the up as well. Yeah, not Carson Palmer. He's been retired for a few seasons now in the uh,
I
in the
still can't
NFL.
believe I said that.
In the NFL, yeah, he played for the Cardinals for a bit. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
there
no,
was
also in fairness too, Gibbs White did have a fair game up until he got that second yellow as well.
yeah, and he was a good player last year for Nottingham Forest. So I think England there's definitely going to be some guys that come up there.
Yeah, that they're in good hands, I'd say. Honestly, some of them I think they have better potential than the current team anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so moving on from that game to each of our own MLS teams, of course, we're going to talk about Charlotte FC first because I think the New England Revolution. Well, I'll have a bit of a tangent for that one, but Charlotte FC did draw Cincinnati. Karol Swiderski scoring both goals. He's easily Charlotte's best player. And then unfortunately for them, Cincinnati did come back to tie it 2-2. I would say normally that's a bad thing, but it is the top team in the league that you guys were facing. So could be worse. You at least got the point, but not the best result since you were up 2-0. And then since you got a red card.
No, absolutely not. No, this is not acceptable. It may have been the best team, but literally you're at home anyway. You're up 2-0 in the second half. You just had to pretty much just park the bus, just close it out, and yet you somehow managed to give away a penalty and then a second goal. And this is also, may I mention, the fifth draw in a row. This is not acceptable. Christian Latizano has to face facts and just either change something up or just walk away. There's nothing else to it. This is also the second time we've blown a lead, as we also did it away against New York City.
Yeah. No, that's fair. And yeah, Charlotte as a whole haven't been great this year. They are facing the Revs in the fall, I want to say. So hopefully the new signing of Scott Arfeld can help them a little bit, maybe make their midfield a bit better once he becomes more of a starter. But yeah, definitely not the best look for the team right now. Hopefully they are able to turn it around. But I mean, I would still take a draw with Cincy, which is what the Revs got last week over what happened yesterday. So yesterday I decided to take a bus trip to the Red Bulls, to the New York Red Bull Arena, and there were probably about 100 or so of us that went on this trip, to watch our team play the Red Bulls. The Red Bulls have been awful this year. They're currently in 12th. Lewis Morgan, who's their best player, has been injured. John Tolkien, their left back's away in international duty with our left back DeJuan Jones. So for how the game went, the Red Bulls really did outplay the Revs in the first half. The Revs were awful. They were not playing well whatsoever, but they managed to get into halftime 0-0 with a couple brilliant saves from their goalkeeper and MLS All-Star George Petrovic. But then the second half happened. There's a cross. Frankie Amaya beats Ben Sweat on a header, goes in the net. 1-0 Red Bulls. Right after that, Revolution midfielder Latif Blessing gets sent off. Bit of a high boot, unfortunately. I do believe it was a red card, but these plays do happen. The Revolution have 10 men. They make 4 substitutions, then they score on a header from Brandon By off a corner. Game's 1-1. Red Bulls score again off a deflected shot. Bit of a weird one, but those happen. Then, in the 93rd minute, the Revs have a corner. Red Bulls clear it, but it goes right to Revolution defender Andrew Farrell. Farrell puts a superb, well-placed shot into the bottom left corner of the goal from his vantage point, right from where I was. The goal looked like it was an equalizer, looked like it was a winner. Giacomo Vrioni was offside. He was offside, but he was not obstructing the view of the goalkeeper. He wasn't. He was moving across the other way. Coronel looked defeated after the ball went in. That's the Red Bulls goalkeeper. Ref gets called over to the monitor. The goal gets waved off, sending every Revs fan that took that trip into just complete rage, complete anger. This is the third time that this has happened to us this season, where it just wasn't obstruction and it gets called back. We had a 93rd minute equalizer get called off against us. I mean, we played awful in this whole game. It's not like we were deserving of the draw, but the ball crossed the line. We got the goal. Coronel was not saving that ball. He saw the ball the whole time. And also, Taylor Tallman made a tweet that basically said that the Red Bulls defender made a move at the ball, which automatically negates Frioni being offside. It negates it. Red Bulls player makes a move at the ball. Coronel wasn't going to save the shot. Should have stood. Absolutely should have stood. And if it happened to any other team, it should have stood. It's that if that type of play happens, it has to stand. The MLS has to do something about its referees, as a whole. And it's not just the Revs that have been screwed by them. Other teams have been screwed by them too. Plenty of
We
times.
ourselves got screwed against Nashville as well, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's been plenty of teams have gotten screwed by MLS refereeing. Us, just this season, it's been super unlucky with them. We haven't had our way. The red card, again, I thought was legit. I thought the red card was a decent call against us. But then that play happened. I mean, it can't happen. Andrew Farrell doesn't score that much either. He only has 2 career goals to his name, despite making 350 appearances for the Revs.
Well,
Like one of the most appearances. Like he's getting up there for the appearance leaders in the league, and that would have been his 3rd career goal. He was going crazy, and sure enough, I mean, just awful refereeing decision.
I feel you there. Like I said, we got ourselves screwed over against Nashville. We should have had a penalty, and then they gave themselves a penalty then too. Just the way it goes, really. I mean, if MLS is going to be wanted to be taken seriously, they have to up their game.
They do, they really do, and I get that the rules. I get why obstruction exists, but if VAR was the thing that called it back. If it's not a clear and obvious error, which it definitely wasn't, you have to take it into consideration. Rubio Vasquez barely looked at the screen. He took 20 seconds to wave it off. The Red Bulls players were celebrating like they just won the World Cup. Like, yeah, you beat us. The Red Bulls have a good history against the Revs in that venue. But this just doesn't help. It just didn't help. I spent 10 hours on a bus trip to watch that happen. So, yeah, wasn't the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, must have had you feeling like you don't want to ever do it again.
Yeah, I probably will. Anyway, but moving on from my bitterness there, we'll move on to the Gold Cup. A couple of results that happened. The first one being Mexico beat Costa Rica 2-0 to advance in the semifinals. A pretty expected result. Costa Rica haven't had a great tournament. They were okay, but their squad's aging and they're definitely in need of a national rebuild.
Yeah, no, it's just yeah, they just need help, really.
They
That's
do.
all I can make a comment on. The one that I
Absolutely.
want to get to though is the Panama game against when it came to Qatar, because Qatar is just they just need to just stop playing soccer, I feel like.
I mean, the fact that they were invited to this tournament is just odd as a whole. I get that it was predetermined, like when the World Cup seeding happened, but I don't really get why that they were in this tournament and a team like Curacao, who has actually been decent in the past couple of years, isn't. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But this will be hopefully their last Gold Cup. Hopefully they don't get invited to anything else because it's Qatar and they're way over in the Middle East, while North America is a very far away location for them. But I'm happy Panama beat them. Panama's honestly a team on the up in CONCACAF. They've been playing really well quite recently. They have a good foundation of players. Carrasquilla from Houston, I think, is a good player. And yeah, I mean, there's a few decent players in that team, and I honestly hope Panama gives whoever plays them, whether it be the I think that's the Guatemala side. I want to say of the bracket. No, Panama plays the winner of U.S. Canada.
Hmm.
I think that they could give either of those teams a run for their money. Honestly, you can't count them out. And Jamaica Guatemala, the winner of them plays Mexico. And here's the thing with Jamaica. I think if the U.S. doesn't make the final, Jamaica have a great chance at winning.
Yeah,
And
they do.
I made this point in the last episode that I did with Hunter. They have some good players. I mean, there's some guys from England that are playing in that team. I've talked about them in the past, but Demarai Gray, Michael Antonio, Leon
Yeah,
Bailey, Bobby Dickert-Reed, all of those guys are playing in this tournament. They're all really good players. And then you got former Premier League players like Adrian Mariappa, who used to play for Crystal Palace. There's some quality guys in this team. And Andre Blake, who's been a phenomenal MLS goalkeeper, top 3 for the past arguably 6-7 years. Phenomenal goalkeeper. Jamaica could win the Gold Cup. And if they did, even if it was against Canada, I wouldn't even be that mad because it's a rising nation when it comes to football, and it'll only make their team better.
yeah, no, I agree. If they are to make the final, they could definitely have a shout against whoever is playing against them. Even if it is the U.S., because when it comes to the US, I know they've been putting in like good performances, like they had back-to-back 6-0 wins, but even then, like I just thought at sometimes that like they just didn't like play to their full potential. Like those games could have been like 13-0 games, honestly. And when it comes to like, those Premier League experienced players, they definitely, have a go at the current squad that's playing for the US because a lot of them like
And they
they're
did.
just MLS and they don't. Yeah.
Yeah. No, they honestly, yeah, they do have a great shot. They did tie the U.S. The U.S. took a late goal from Brandon Vasquez to beat Jamaica. So yeah, I absolutely think that Jamaica's a quality team, and I mean we could very well see them making the final. They drew the U.S. in this tournament. The U.S. in my opinion are still the best squad in the tournament. Even with their MLS players, I'd still rate them over Mexico right now, and I certainly rate them over Canada because we've been nothing short of shambolic this tournament. We've been awful. But if presuming the U.S. beats Canada, which I absolutely think they will, and pending um, Jamaica beats Guatemala, I mean those are four quality teams in the final in the semifinals. So we'll see what happens with them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm gonna be having to watch the US game tonight and see how they perform. And that'll be my fair judgment going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, moving on to our usual segments of the week. Unfortunately, neither of us had a goal to bring you, but we did have heroes. So I will go first in this regard. I'm going to give it to my guy George Petrovic, who's been an absolute brick wall for the Revolution all season. Instant MLS All Star, best keeper in MLS in my opinion, and I think a lot of others have had that opinion as well, even neutral fans. I mean, Petrovic has been absolutely phenomenal. He's been on Matt Turner's level, if not better. I mean, he made a couple crucial stops against the Red Bulls. He was the only reason that it was 0-0 going into the halftime. But yeah, I mean, he's been phenomenal and absolutely deserves a shout. And I'm also going to give Wayne Rooney a shout out for picking Carlos Heel to represent the Revs also at the All Star game. Heel's got 7 goals and 9 assists this season. The Revs are a completely different team with him in it. How he wasn't selected earlier, I have no idea. But Wayne Rooney at least recognized his ability and picked him. So I'm gonna give him a shout too.
Okay, so for my um hero of the week, I'd have to go with James Trafford. I mean, that save against Spain, sublime. Like just being able to give, be pretty much the final act and be the hero of the day for England and being able to win them something for once, I should say. He's definitely going to be a great keeper, I'd say, coming up whenever Pickford decides to, I guess retire from his international
Depends how
duty.
Ramsdale fits in the future. Because see, Ramsdale is still a fairly young guy, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm also gonna say, be also in like the reserves.
Yeah, fair enough. The funny thing too about Trafford is his last name is Trafford, and he plays for Man City.
Yeah, I actually saw
So,
something on Twitter today of him wearing a United shirt when he was just a kid. Ironically enough.
yeah, I mean, if the stadium is Old Trafford, he's young Trafford.
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure. And yeah, moving on to the final segment of this episode, which is our idiot of the week. I think from the Revolution rant earlier, we know who mine is, and it is referee Rubio Vasquez. You go to this guy's comments on Instagram, and they're all just bashing him. Even New York Red Bulls fans were like, "Dub referee, get this guy on our team." When you know that the opposing team knows that that the ref has robbed the opposition, that's when you know you messed up. So, Rubio Vasquez, hang your head in shame, my friend. And the VAR Jorge Gonzalez, you're not off the book either. You also screwed up. You both missed it. You missed the plot. You cost us a point on the road. You made all of us Revs fans feel pissed. So sorry, guys. You're just dumb. If I see Vasquez again, I will be just throwing shade at him the whole time.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to go when it comes to my idiot of the week. I'm gonna have to go with my MLS team now on this. Our coach, like I said, I mentioned his name earlier, Christian Ledesma. He needs to go. just 5 points from 15 and having us now pretty much outside the playoffs, like the playoff contention. It's just unacceptable. Like I don't even see us, in our next games like really picking up many points when it comes to like this consistency. It's just unacceptable. We've been like shouting for this for like months on end now. We want him to go. He needs to go.
Yeah, for sure. And I see where you're coming from. That's how I felt about both Jay Heaps and Brad Friedel back in the day when the Revolution had each of those guys. Um, Thankfully, Bruce Arena has turned the ship around for us. But yeah, until you guys find a great coach, unfortunately, I just don't see how it really improves for you guys. Like I don't see it beating us. I think the Revs are going to beat you guys at home. That's not even that controversial. I mean, just the way each team has
Yeah.
played this year, there's some quality players in Charlotte, but we've been dominant at home. We haven't lost a game there, so I think you'll probably lose to the Revs, but maybe they'll be able to turn it around, and make the playoffs. So we'll see what happens there. But without further ado, that will do it for us this week. Not as much to talk about, of course, but that is a-okay. Still bringing you some content. Please subscribe if you have not already. We do have a few new subscribers from the uh, Red Bulls trip that I did. Got a few people on board, and I'm very happy about that. But please subscribe if you haven't already. Just to run over what we talked about some of the transfer buzz, including the fact that David De Gea is leaving Man United and the goalkeeping, triangle that has happened in place of that, with Onana going to Man U most likely, and then Jan Sommer potentially going to Inter Milan. We talked about Manor Solomon going to Tottenham, Arda Güler to Madrid, Brendan Aronson to Union Berlin, as well as Mauro Icardi to Galatasaray, and then the Harry Kane speculation. We then went into the Euro U21 final, where England did get the win off of a late James Trafford penalty save and a Curtis Jones goal. I went into a bit of a tangent about the New England Revolution's result against the New York Red Bulls, Charlotte FC draw Cincinnati. Then we've talked about the Gold Cup and finished it off with our segment of Idiot and Hero of the Week. As always, I'm Grayson Mortimer,
I'm Evan McGuire.
and we will see you next time.